So the reason it's important to unload our anxieties, all the stuff that's happening in your life, all the pressure, because that this deep study that we are going to go start tonight is going to take you to a level that is very difficult for any normal, I would say, person so far to understand. I'm going to talk about the creation of the world that we try to understand because we don't really understand it, and why the world was created. Why this world is created the way it is. It's not perfect, right? Not everybody is happy. There is anger in the world. There is people dying. There is people, suffering. But there is also a lot of people happy. And so there is this balance here that is always troubling when you start learning. Because why God, let's say, let this thing happen? Okay, and so there is always a misconception about God, that God is kind of has a balance here, and the good people put them on that side, and the bad people, they put them on the other side, right? And then he's kind of judging, say, you are going to be like in the kindergarten, right? Oh, you were good today, here I'll give you a good stuff. Oh, you were not good, I'm going to punish you. So we are going to learn about, that's not what God is about. Okay, so the first thing to understand is like the study here and the condition of studying the Kabbalah, like we discussed last week, because there is always this thing, like Yoni was saying, 40 years old, cannot study, a lot of people, they are not letting you. So I just wanted to clarify that before we go into, because what I'm going to reveal tonight is not for you how to recreate the world or to make gold from lead or whatever those things are about the stories of the Kabbalah. So there are two levels in the study of the Kabbalah. So the Kabbalah is the third level. Remember, there is the Pshat, the Remez, the Rash, and Sod, right? It's the Pardes. These are the four levels that we are giving at Mount Sinai. We are talking about the Sod here. We are going to do the most mystical and the most, I would say, spiritual level of the Torah. But even that is split into levels. So the first level is called Sitre Torah. The most secret level of the Bible that can be studied only by tzaddikim, and this study is capable of transcending the physical realm altogether. So if you know and you study that level, you can create a human being. And that's what they did. When they created the Maharal of Prague, they used the Sitre Torah, they used the letter, talk about the letter now. That's what they used. You can recreate everything you want because you know how... The Golem, yeah. So you can do everything with it. Okay, so it's not something that is allowed to anyone to do. Okay. The traditional prohibition of the Kabbalah learning applies to the study of the Sitre Torah. The chance for a novice to understand the study is comparable to trying to explain the light to a blind from birth. If someone is blind from birth, how you are going to explain what the light is? Okay, there is no way, there is no concept, okay, because he doesn't know what it is. That will be the Sitre Torah. We won't be able to grasp it. The explanation of the light will have no meaning for him. Same of us, because the study is so deep that our subconscious mind is sealed for the level of understanding, and it's pointless for us to try even to understand. Okay, that's Sitre Torah. We are not going to touch that during any of those courses. And the second level is called Ta'ameh Torah. The study is the explanation of the ritual of the Bible that is encouraged by the sages because understanding the order and the purpose of the creation leads to the root of our existence and being. It's very difficult for you to be religious if you don't have a little bit of understanding. Some people, you see a lot of kids that are, living the religion because for them, it's a lot of pressure, right? And there is not sometimes this understanding of why we do what we do and why we have all these restrictions, okay? Especially when you are Jewish. So that's why it's important for us to study. And you need to study, and you need to start young, okay? The Zohar said you can start at the age of 7, okay? From 7 to 77, that's what it says. So the Lorianic Arizal system, for example, is the way of joining together the human emotion and then provide us the spiritual nourishment. So you need to get physical, you need also to get the spiritual that comes with it. So when you go to a prayer, you sit to the prayer, you do the prayer, and you have the physical action, but you don't connect to the spiritual, then you don't get any nourishment. We'll find in this study the unity of mind and heart that lies at the very center of the sublime mystery of the Bible. Okay, you have to understand that everything that we do has a purpose of a spiritual revelation. Every single action that we do reveals the light. We're going to talk about the light, reveals something. If no, and if you don't know that it reveals, you shouldn't even do it, because it is going to be, I would say, for you watching the TV without starting the TV, okay? Or watching the music with the sound off. No meanings. For example, each prayer, when we reveal the forces that you need, the physical and closing the door of the Kabbalah study because there are few that have followed the false path would be like forbidding the Kiddush prayer over a few that followed the false path of being alcoholic. We are not going to not use wine because there is people alcoholic. We are not going to study Kabbalah because few people were doing the wrong thing. Okay? So, without wisdom and understanding and knowledge, Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at, we'll talk about that, religion and prayer will be meaningless. That's the level, that's Arizal. It's not my word, it's the word of the Arizal. Okay, so again, religion and prayer will be meaningless. Our soul will remain thirsty and feel some emptiness from the rituals and no meanings. The nourishment of the soul is as important as the nourishment of the body. So I wanted to start there to make sure that everybody understands why what we are going to learn here is important in our life. Okay, so now I'm going to start with one of the most difficult ones. It's called on my paper, a definition of God. How do you define God? And I know that a lot of people, they define God differently, but God has only one definition. And we're going to talk about it based on the Kabbalah, of course. Okay? God is all-inclusive and lacks nothing. God doesn't need you, doesn't need your love, doesn't need anything from you. God is perfect, it's a hishtalshelut, it's like he has the perfection and he lacks nothing and he has everything. So, for example, if we say that, why in the prayer we say Baruch Atah Hashem? What do you mean Baruch Atah Hashem? He doesn't need our Baruch, he doesn't need our blessing, he has everything. Okay? That's, some paradox here that's coming. So, we can imply that from that good, that God is good, we are going to demonstrate that the evil is the root of emptiness. Because sometimes, like I was saying, we think God is going to punish us. God does not punish anybody. God is good. The creator of this universe is only good. There is nothing bad about it. Okay? Evil is linked to, for example, jealousy, anger, hatred. That's the emotions that are linked to evil, but certainly not to God. These emotions are not part of God. So every time there is something negative, this will never come from God. Okay? So you cannot never say, because I've heard, oh, God punished me because I did not behave. No, God did not punish you. God does not punish anybody in this world. That's not his job. His job is to give us life and good. That's the only thing that he does. So because God is only good, his existence is linked to us by his desire to share his goodness. So he has so much good, he wants to share with us. He's like the sun. The sun cannot say, hey, I'm not going to share my light today. You are not good people. Guess what? I'm not going to shine today. Okay, maybe there is going to have some clouds, but behind the clouds, the sun is still shining. So the same way God has to shine and God has to give his light. Okay? There is nothing that stops him there. And this is what we call the light. So every time we call the light, it's basically what God shares with us. His goodness is the light. Yes.
So where does the evil come from? It's not from God.
We are going to talk about it a little bit further. Okay? Our life, in our life, we call good any object or person that fulfills something that we want. Okay? Let's say that we want something, it's good, right? If we have something that we don't want that come, it's bad. But everything that we have, what the definition of good for us is what we want and that we fulfill our that want, it's called good. This is something that can be a physical like a gift, or metaphysical like an experience or a pleasure. For example, someone loves you, it's good. It's not physical, okay? Or not everything that you do as good is physical. Some of the experiences can be spiritual. We will call this the positive energy, and this energy of giving is called the desire to impart. So I'm going to write that down because we are going to discuss that a lot. The desire to impart.
What's that mean?
To explain. The desire to impart can also be called the desire to give. Okay? Like the continuous gift of life from God that fulfill our want. Okay? We want something, God is going to fulfill. Okay? Our desire that we want to give ourselves. Because you want to receive, but you also give. Okay? So that's a desire to impart. This thing here is what God is the desire to impart. That's the only thing that he has in his pocket, his desire to impart. And what does he impart? He imparts lights. Okay? Very simple concept, right? Not very complicated so far. Well, you agree? Okay. So the paradox is that the giving, when we give, we have less than what we had before, right? Let's say that you give tzedakah, right? So you had $1,000 in your pocket, you give $20 tzedakah, and now you have 980, right? That's our life. So every time you use this thing here, the desire to impart, you empty yourself a little bit, okay? So you are going to ask now, if God, that's the only thing that he has, when God gives, he also gives a little bit of himself? So the answer is no. God, whatever he gives, never emptied himself. He's always stayed the same. He doesn't change. He doesn't lose anything. And that's a paradox. How we understand those paradoxes, I'm going to give you an example. If you take this bottle here, this bottle of water here, okay? This bottle of water, let's say, can fill up, let's say, 10 glasses, okay? When the bottle is empty, it's empty, okay? So this bottle represents us, our life. When we give something, at the end, we are empty, we don't have anything left. Let's take an example now of a candle. So you light a candle, now you light another candle. Does the light of the first candle is less than the beginning, or is the same? How many candles can you light with one candle? Infinite number, okay? Until there is no more candle, but if it's a big candle, you can light 1,000, 10,000, a million candles. The light of that candle doesn't change. So that's God. He gives, but nothing changes for him. Not like us. So that concept is what God is about. It's about giving infinite love. This infinite love that He's giving us does not change anything on its nature. Okay? There is no more to that in the Kabbalah. That's the way that the Creator, God, has been defined in the Kabbalah. So it's a very simple concept to understand, especially when you think about the candle. Now you understand why the candles are so important to light on Shabbat. There is some meanings of connecting yourself to a higher spiritual place here when you do it. So to summarize here, we can say that the concept of goodness, positive energy, the desire to impart, the lack of desire to receive, are all the manifestation of one single concept, which is the nature of God. Again, concept of goodness, positive energy, desire to impart, and the lack of desire to receive. So God does not have a desire to receive for himself. It doesn't exist. He's just desire to impart, and again, he never empties himself. So that's the first concept. That's the definition of God. So we are going to come back to this desire to impart because it's very important. So now we are going to discuss and we are going to explain about another concept here. It's called the Ein Sof. Okay. For people that don't understand Hebrew, Ein Sof is no limit, it's limitless. Okay, that's what Ein Sof means. So the first state of existence of which we have knowledge, our world here is called Ein Sof. It's the endless world. It's an endless world, but it's different than the desire to impart. This state implies no beginning and no end, and no manifestation of the concept of time, space, and motion. The time and space and motion, you were asking earlier about the worlds. In our world, there is time, space, and motion. Right? We live by the time. To go to one place to another place, you need to walk. So there is a motion, right? So this concept doesn't exist in the upper world. It exists only in our world. So in this manifestation of Ein Sof, there is no such concept as time, space, and motion. Okay? So this is something that is always going to be limiting us, but on those worlds, they are not going to. This means that the process of creation is governed by only one thing, which is the effect, the cause and effect. Okay, so we are going to talk about also here the cause and effect. Example of cause and effect. I do something bad to someone. Do I get punished immediately? Do I see sometime, very early, do I see the result of it? No. So there is a cause, which is the way I behave. The effect, I don't know what the effect is. The effect can be today, can be tomorrow, can be in 30 years. We have no clue because there is no relation between the cause and effect. In Ein Sof, there is a direct relation. Everything that you do has an effect. Okay? That's also something that is going to be very important because on the creation of the world, that's going to be something that is going to be changed on the way that is it in Ein Sof versus the way we have in our world. So this means that the process, so the Ari says in the stage of the creation that we are no, I will say you couldn't discern any really body, or you couldn't discern any energy or anything. It was just cause and effect. That was the only thing. So something will happen, immediately will have an effect on it. So there is nothing, there is no comprehension, there is no understanding, there is no process, there is nothing. That's called Ein Sof. It's a little bit complicated. We are going to go slowly on it, but that's the concept of Ein Sof. Okay? Cause and effect. So now we are going to go to the next stage of the creation, which is, it's called the Yesh Mi'ayin, or nothing. No, sorry. Something from nothing. Something from nothing. So that's a concept also that it's not part of our understanding. You cannot create something from nothing. You always need to have something. Okay? So this concept here, the Yesh Mi'ayin, is one stage of the creation. So God desires to impart Ein Sof, which is a world that has only cause and effect, and then just another stage which is the Yesh Mi'ayin. So God, started to go and think about how I'm going to go and create and be able to do something with my creation, because at the beginning it was just this one. It was nothing. There is nothing here. So slowly those stages are being created. And so this Yesh Mi'ayin, okay, it's like when the creator wanted to impart, he has nowhere to share. Okay, he has all this unlimited good, unlimited light. Who are going to share it? So imagine that you are the richest man in the world, and you are the only one in this world. What are you going to do with that money? Okay, okay, you can buy what? You are the only one here. You have $16 trillion, and you are just going to be here trying to do something with it, and basically there is nothing to do with it. So God had the same dilemma here. I have all this goodness, I have all this desire, I want to share, and I have nobody to share. So because God,
A little off topic, but did God create any other worlds before us?
Yeah, we are going to talk about it. Yeah. So before us, there was a lot of trial and mistakes. Yeah. Okay. So God, because He wanted to create He wanted to be able to share. He said, okay, it can do everything, right? So let's do and create something. Okay. So He wanted to create something, and that's what the Kabbalah taught, that they call it the thought of the creation, okay, which is the God process, the desire to impart and lead to the creation of a vessel. Okay, so Yesh Mi'ayin is when God created the vessel. I put in parentheses S, and also what we call the sphirot. Okay, sphirot and vessel is the same thing. The kli in Hebrew. Okay, so the sphirot. So God created the sphirot. So He wanted to share, He had nowhere to share. The Ein Sof was just cause and effect. He couldn't do anything there. So He said, okay, let's create here a vessel called the sphirot. Okay, and that's the Yesh Mi'ayin. And then, okay, so now God has something to give. He was there. He can give the light. He can share. He can use his desire to impart, to share with the light, and then started to fill up the light. So the creation of this process here, in order to receive, what do you need to have? You need to have what we call desire to receive. I just said it. Okay? So God created something that's desire to receive. Sorry. Desire to receive. In Hebrew it's called Ratzon Lekabel. Okay? So God created the sphirot and created with the sphirot the desire to receive. Okay? So that's the third thing that He created, and then the second thing He created is desire to receive. Because if the vessel does not have a desire to receive, the vessel cannot receive anything. If we don't want to receive, God cannot force us to receive His goodness. A lot of people, they are very resistant. God wants to share. You know the story that God wants to share with us, and we are so busy with our stuff that He cannot share because we are busy with our thought, with our everything we do. We are very busy every day. We don't think about Him, so He doesn't share anything. So He had to create the desire, and the same desire that He created here with the creation is the same desire we have today. Okay, our desire to receive. The Jews had the biggest desire to receive. Okay, why is that? Okay, that's a different thing. But why they have the biggest desire, the Jews? Because they received the Torah. So they received the Torah, they got the biggest desire, We didn't want it because with the biggest desire, guess what? Come the biggest responsibilities. Why the Jews didn't want the Torah, didn't want to go, because they didn't want this desire. Okay? But that's why you have most of the people, the Jews have, where you put Jews, usually you have, better economy, right? Why is that? If you count the percentage of lawyers and doctors compared to the Jewish population, it's much higher there because they have a desire to go and have better life and make more money. That comes from this creation here, the desire to receive. That's the first thing that God created after the vessel. He created the desire to receive. So this desire to receive is very important, and we are going to see that the creation of that is the basis of the world the way it exists today. Okay, so the desire to receive is one of the main pillars of the creation. So the thing that we say here, it says, okay, so God created the desire to receive, but who created the desire to impart? Okay, because if God created that, who created that desire? Okay, so in the morning we have a prayer, and for the people that pray in the morning, and the prayer says, He, the Creator, forms the light and creates the darkness. Okay? The Ramban asks why two different words are used, form and creates. Okay? The Ramban explained that because the light is a word is shlemut, we say form. This one was never created. This one existed. Okay? This desire existed. Okay? And then why is using the word created? Because the word created here, the desire to receive, okay, is an incompleteness, negative energy, and something that is not the shlemut of the desire to impart of God. Okay, so there is two different levels here. This one was not created, always existed. This one here has been created. So I would say this one is more natural for people, okay, to give. But this one here, the desire to receive, is not. And that's the paradox. And that's why Kabbalah is called Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? Is receiving. Okay? So, yes?
In a certain way, it is, even though there's a paradox, the desire to receive is directly linked to the desire to impart.
It's not linked.
In order, if in Hashem's, you gave like a 4 to 5 definitions of God. The only one you wrote down is the desire to impart, right? Like he wants to have these.
Because that's his nature.
But also because that's the most important one, as it trickles down to what you're trying to explain, right? The desire to impart. In order to, the fulfillment of that desire only happens in the desire to receive.
Yeah. So basically, without that, this desire exists, but cannot do anything.
Right.
Okay? So I'll give you an example here on our world here. Let's say that sometimes people you want to help. Okay? So when you want to help, you use your desire to impart, right? And you want to touch their desire to receive. A lot of people, they don't want to receive. You still have the desire to impart, it exists, you created that, but the desire to receive was no recipient, was no clue for it. Okay? So you created something, it's very important, this is why you say always be neder. When you do something, you say something because you create a desire to impart, okay? But it may not be fulfilled by anything, okay? That's why you say be neder, because we are going to check where the neders are going. You don't want to go with the neders there. So that's the desire to receive. And the desire to receive is us. We are the desire to receive. Okay? That's our creation. That's the most important thing. That's this level here. Basically, the thought of this desire to receive is the creation of the entire world. Everything is based on the desire to receive, and we are going to give a lot of examples and explain about that. So, And so this desire to receive, that's what we call yesh mi'ayin, because it did not exist, God created it. So so now we are going to talk about the next level. This desire to receive here that was created, it did not have any will of himself. It just, God said, hey, I want to create. So he said, oh, I have here, that's my desire to impart. Let's take this glass here. Here, I created that glass, and now I'm going to fill up the glass. I am going to fill up the glass and fill up the glass. What's going to happen to the glass? It's going to spill, right? At some point, because you know you cannot fit one bottle into that glass. Okay, so God said, oh, that's going to be a problem. So let's create vessels, infinite vessels. Yeah. So he created infinite vessels, so he can have more than one vessel to go and start splitting into. So he created Sphirot. You remember from last week, I said Sphirot has an endless number of levels. Okay, each Sphira 10 divided by 10 divided by 10. So there is no end to the Sphirot, so there is no end to the vessel. So they created an infinite number of vessels. But that still didn't solve the problem that these vessels, they did nothing to really receive. They didn't want. Maybe the vessel say, oh, you know what, today I don't want to receive. I don't want to use my desire, okay? I want to stay in bed today. I don't want to have anything. I don't want to use any of my desire. I just want to do nothing, okay? Can you do nothing? Can you go and say, hey, my desire today, I don't have any receiver desire? You think that you can, but really, is your heart beating? Are you still continue to breathe? Can you stop breathing? No, you cannot stop breathing. There is no way that you can stop breathing. There is no way that you can stop your heart. So your desire to receive is always functioning. So the vessels here, that's what they wanted to do. They say, let's stop our heart. Let's stop breathing. Because we are tired to receive all this thing here and get filled and filled and filled with this goodness. And for us, we do nothing. Okay, so and don't forget that the desire to impart, the only thing that he was sharing is light, is positive, is good. Okay, so everything is good. What's happening with someone is doing good to you all the time. Okay, let's say you do good and you do good and you do good. At the beginning, it feels very good, but at some point of your life, you have said, oh, it's a little bit too much. I want to experience a little bit on myself. Okay, that's why the kids, they leave the house. Okay, most of the kids, you want to give them money, buy them a new car, buy them this, buy them that, but at some point they feel like it's too much. I want to do experience myself. I want to not have everything coming to me for free and not doing anything. Okay, so, and also this desire to receive. If the desire to impart is part of the desire to receive, the desire to receive also has a desire to impart. So the same level that he has here, because when this is being shared here, what is being shared is the desire to impart and the light. So the desire to receive receives two things. You receive the desire to impart and the light. So now who is going to impart to? Who is going to go and give to? There is nobody. Okay, so at some point the vessels, they say, oh, let's try to share with each other. Let's try to go and I'm empty myself, I'm going to give it to you, but really it doesn't work because they're always filling up and they're always filled up. So they didn't have really a way to share to each other. And that it came to the point that the vessel, they collapsed on themselves. Okay? And they collapsed because they got too much. By getting this light, constant light, and not having any of getting audience of light, and not having any of their will being fulfilled, so they collapse. And this process here is the next one. It's called the shut off of the light.
realize, like, just think that's what you only have the Shvirat HaKelim, right?
Yes, Shvirat HaKelim.
That's what a little bit alludes to what Yoni asked before about all the worlds that Hashem created and destroyed. When they were Olamot and Machrivan, you asked. So Hashem created.
So that's called Shvirat HaKelim.
Right, that ties into the Shvirat HaKelim. So just like it destroys and destroys like 500 times. So Hashem created this world.
500 times?
Yes,
I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so the shot of the light. So basically the desire to receive said, I don't want to receive anymore. He said, he shot of the light. He said, don't give me any more light. Which is a problem because the desire to impart cannot stop giving. Okay? And this guy really couldn't stop receiving. Another thing that was created as a consequence of the shot of the light, it's called lechem bizayon. It's called the bread of shame. What is the bread of shame? Okay, so that's another element of the creation that came up from this process. Lechem bizayon. What is lechem bizayon? Lechem bizayon is when you go and you do good to people, but really they don't do anything for you. That's the feeling that you have. Okay?
Give example.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example of lechem bizayon here because the bread of shame is very important. A lot of kids experience lechem bizayon from their parents. Okay? And a lot of problems that kids have with the relation with the parent is because you don't give what the kid what the kid needs, but you give what they want. Okay? The desire to receive of a kid is endless. It's like when a kid is born with the biggest desire to receive. How do we know that? Okay? So if you remember when we did the meditation, we open the hands like that and we meditate because we want to go and receive, right? Okay. How is the babies are born? How do they are born? With their hand closed, right? Why are they hand closed? Because I want to receive. Okay? Now you know, when you say I want something, say, give it to me, right? So you go and you close your hands, right? So the babies, they are just, that's the way they are born, and go and try to open the hand, they close it immediately. There is no way for them to open the hand. If you never ask why, it's because the babies are desire to receive, pure desire to receive. They have no yet anything on the desire to impart. This concept does not exist in their life. Okay, that's why when you have a baby, a toddler is 3 years old, he doesn't want to share his toy, and then you come with your adult mind, oh, why don't you share your toy, my little baby, that, you have to be nice. No, I don't have to be nice because I just have this. I don't have this. Sorry, I don't know about that.
How do you deal with that?
Huh?
How do you deal with that?
How they deal with that? Very
How
well.
do you deal with that?
How do you
How do you deal with them?
I want you to skip some
say,
class.
oh,
I have a parental class, it's on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Okay? So what is, okay, so let's go back to the bread of shame. How that the bread of shame happen? Is because there is a desire to receive. If we fill up this desire to receive, we fill up, then they are going to do the same thing as the light. They didn't do anything for that. Okay? That's why you need to give kids chores, right? You need to give them stuff to do. My kids I never gave them anything for no reason. My son, you want money, you go, you take the trash out. You go, you take the dog poop. Okay? You want money, you wanted money. My son wanted money for, I don't know what he wanted. To buy a car. So he said, I want money to buy a car. Okay, I'm going to give you a job. So what's the job? So I told him, I said, I need to do a trench in the backyard. Why do you need a trench for? I said, it's not your problem, just dig the trench. So I said, I need a trench 15 feet, 1 foot large and 2 feet deep. So he started, it took him a week or 2 weeks?
No, yeah, a week.
Yeah, so go, he did the trench and all that. And Nechama was feeling bad about him, she helped him.
I was suckered into it.
Yeah, and so under threatening, right? Exactly. And you have threatened. And then when he was done, and he came to me and says, I'm done. So when are we going to the trench? He said, I say, I don't need that trench. No, you are going to fill it up. Okay? And then I gave him the money. Okay? That's the way that you need to treat your kids. Because if you don't do that, then it's like bread of shame. It's lechem bizayon. And when they experience the lechem bizayon, when they experience the lechem bizayon, what's happening is shvirat hakilim. Okay? What is shvirat hakilim? I was talking about those kids in many religious communities that are living. What's happening with them? That's what they have. They have the bread of shame. Because they have nothing for themselves. So they go out and they say, I want something for myself. I want to make something of myself. I don't want to have all these people telling me I need to do Shabbat, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do the prayer, I need to dress like that. No, I want to have a little bit of myself. Something that I can go and I can own. And that's why the bread of shame is such a powerful thing that are limiting a lot of life of a lot of people. Okay? So, as parents, for me, okay, for example, I help my kids. Okay, they are all jealous from each other. Why you didn't buy her that? Why did you buy this? Why did they have this? There's always a jealousy. Again, jealousy is not from God, right? Because that's not the nature of God. So it's the nature of evil, right? So you cannot be jealous. I teach them Kabbalah since they are little. They still didn't get it, apparently. Okay, so that's something very important. But I'm very careful to not give them stuff that they are going to experience the bread of shame. And I did few mistakes. Okay, for example, Yuda wanted when he wanted to buy the car. We were living in a very wealthy neighborhood. He wanted to have a very nice car. Guess what? I bought him a pickup. Like he was calling it like a Mexican car. Okay, I don't care. That's what you are going to get. You can afford, for the trench, you got $4,000, go buy a car. You are not going to buy a BMW. Because you buy the BMW, that's the bread of shame. The kids doesn't need that. BMW, go work, go study, get 5 years at college, find a job, and you can buy as many BMWs that you want, but that's not my job to buy you that. So that's the type of thing that you need to think. So that's the bread of shame. Very important concept of life, very important concept of the creation. Okay? And this bread of shame created the Shvirat HaKilim, shut off the light. That means that the light of God disappeared from the world. Because when they had Shvirat HaKilim, what happened is like this, there is parts of this Kilim that fell. And it fell in the Tumah of the creation, and they are still there. Okay, we are going to cut. There is 248 of it, and that's why that's the neurology of a merachefet. That's why in the creation of when you read the first paragraph of the Bereshit, it says merachefet when he was talking about the Spirit of God. Okay, merachefet, it's 248, which is a reference to the 248 part of the Kilim that fell into the Tumah. Yes.
When does a child get desire to impart? At what age do they develop that?
You can answer that yourself.
It's either 3 or 13.
It's tied into the bread, right?
You know the answer.
It's either 3. It's either by their haircut, because that's when they're
became adults.
That's when the desire to impart is activated. Par mitzvah.
6 more months for that.
Okay? The desire to impart. Okay, I'm going to give you the next course, like a little bit of light on the next class. Desire to impart is the neshama, is the soul. Desire to receive is the body. Okay? So, when does the neshama activate itself?
I thought it's 3.
No.
Then what happens at 3?
At 3, the neshama finished to establish himself in the body. So,
it's crazy how many now that you're saying these things, like with the tree, you have to wait 3 years, like all these It all connects.
Exactly.
Big.
Everything will
Paradox.
connect. At some
And
point you are going
understand
because
stuff when we do some things.
you
I
heard,
have
you
no
heard,
idea.
you heard, you heard this, you heard that. When we are going to have finishes this series with 10, 12 classes, a lot of stuff is going to
Makes sense.
make sense. Okay, so that's so desire part. So again, let's go back to the desire to receive, because that's a big part of the of what is going to come next in the creation. Okay, because we are still not in our world, right? We are still like in the world of Atzilut, in the world that before even everything else was created. So we are going to take a break, 5 minutes break, take some drink, and then we will continue after the break. Okay.
There's fruit, guys, and
Organic fruit.
Thank you.